Shabbat Shalom. Wonderful to see all of you. Friends, I have an announcement to make. I stand before you this morning not just a man, not just a Jew, not just a rabbi. If you haven't heard, I am the winner of a major award. An award so important, so coveted, so sought after. An award that all Texas dads wish to have bestowed upon themselves. My dear congregation, I am the proud winner of the Forest at Inwood Yard of the Month Award. I know, and I can tell you're impressed. I just want to let you know that I'm still going to be that same guy that you knew before. I'm going to stay humble. Now, in all seriousness, I think this situation needs a little explaining. Growing up, my dad was a yard dad. Maybe you had a yard dad. If you do, or if you did, God bless you. He would make me and my brothers mow weekly in the Texas heat and the humidity, and he would be outside stirring his own fertilizer, using his own compost pile, and then he would spray, and then we'd have to weed eat, and we'd edge, and we'd cut. It was miserable. True story, my brother was getting dressed for the prom, and my dad told him he had not mowed the grass, and he would not let him go to prom until he went outside and cut the grass. That is what a yard dad does. And I remember there was a huge amount of dad pride that went into that lawn, and it looked good. But I can remember declaring as a teenager, when I grow up, I'm getting a yard guy. So guess what? I grew up and I got a yard guy. My yard guy, I think, is the same yard guy that everyone on my street uses, which is why I was surprised to find out that we got Yard of the Month. I don't think we did anything particularly special, but one day, when my wife came home from the store, there was a woman from the HOA at our door telling us we had won. And she had a big sign to prove it. Friends, I don't like to brag, but winning the Yard of the Month award does have its perks. Let's just say that that sign wasn't the only thing we won. We also got a gift card to Lowe's for $25. So mazel tov to us. Now, it's important to note, I didn't know we had even won anything until I was checking the mail the other day, and my neighbor, who I like, let's call him Joe. Joe approached me at the community mailbox that we had, and he said, "Congrats on the yard." And I said, "Huh?" And he pointed to the sign, but I still didn't get it. I didn't understand why this was a thing in my yard. What? Well, who won what? And then this poor guy had to explain it to me at the mailbox like I was a child because it was not making sense. He said, "Jonathan, you won. Your yard is the best." The best. Guys, I gotta tell you, in that moment, for whatever reason, I really liked hearing that. My yard, the best, even though I didn't really do anything. All right. That was kind of it. That was my reaction. It didn't really last too long because, like I said, I'm not a yard dad, but then Joe told me something I didn't want to hear. He told me that our other neighbor, let's call him Bob. He told me that Bob was really ticked off at me for winning because Bob puts a lot of effort into his yard, and he felt that he should have won this award. Well, heck, this did not make me happy with Bob. Why is he mad at me for something I don't even care about? Until this mailbox conversation, I did not know that I had won. I did not know there was a competition. If there was, I never entered the contest. But you know what made me the most angry? Is that Joe told me that Bob had said, quote, "The whole thing is rigged." It's rigged? The Yard of the Month award at the Forest at Inwood is rigged? Like, I have a career, and a congregation, and a life, and so many kids, but yet I'm going to participate in some Yardgate conspiracy to win a $25 gift card to Lowe's? Rigged. I left the mailbox that day feeling angry at Joe and feeling really angry at Bob. And that, dear friends, is one of the many reasons we're told in Parshot Kedoshim to refrain from the sin of rechilut, or tail-bearing against someone else. Now, we actually have a double Torah portion for this Shabbat, Acharei and Kedoshim. The first Parsha discusses the laws of the Yom Kippur rituals and centralized offerings, blood sacrifices, sexuality. But the latter focuses on the laws of holiness and ethical behavior. It's in Parshat Kedoshim, in Vayikra, in Leviticus 19:16, that we get the verse, Lo telech rachil be'amecha. This can be translated in a myriad of different ways. Maybe like, don't be a gossip. Don't be a talebearer. Don't spread slander. Don't do this stuff amongst your people. Now, you've probably heard a million sermons about the concept of lashon hara, which is literally the evil tongue. Usually it's translated as evil speech or gossip. Rechilut is a similar idea, but it's a little different. You see, while lashon hara causes damage to the subject in reputation, finances, emotional anguish, or other, rechilut, we're told, causes hatred toward the subject, or between the listener and the subject. Now, our sages explain that rechilut is not merely idle chatter. They say it can destroy relationships. It can erode trust. And they say it fosters division within families, communities, and they claim even entire nations. Most of the work and modern writings that we have about the dangers of rechilut come from the Chofetz Chaim. He was an influential Lithuanian rabbi, halachist, posek, an ethicist whose works continue to be widely influential in Orthodox Jewish life. And he writes that rechilut is like lightning, like lighting a fire in a dry forest. He says once the flames begin, it's nearly impossible to stop the damage. Oftentimes, he notes, rechilut disguises itself as concern or truth-telling. He says that people might say things like, "I'm just saying what I heard," or "they deserve to know." But the Chofetz Chaim, he writes, Judaism teaches us that truth without compassion or context can actually be a harmful weapon because it can lead to hate. Now, keep in mind, I was hearing information secondhand about a disgruntled neighbor. I wasn't there to hear the actual conversation, which allows my imagination to speculate all kinds of things about Joe and what he could have said about me. And because I heard it from Bob, it led me to have harsh feelings about him too, because I wasn't there to see how he reacted to the news or if he defended me or my yard's reputation. The Chofetz Chaim writes that before we speak, we are supposed to ask ourselves 3 questions. Are you ready? The first question, is this comment necessary? Secondly, is it constructive? And number 3, will it bring peace or conflict? Now, obviously, if the answer to the first 2 questions is no, or if the answer to the last question is conflict, then we shouldn't engage in this particular conversation, especially if it's about someone else. So what is the solution? What is the antidote for rechilut? Well, this is where the Chofetz Chaim says that we need to focus on what he calls shmirat halashon, the guarding of our speech. He says this means choosing silence over spectacle and discretion over drama. It means aligning our words with values, with kindness, humility, and peace. He also recommends cutting out the middleman, so to speak. Had Joe just come up to me about his jealousy over my yard award, honestly, I would have just given him the sign and the gift card. But now we have this underlying animosity every time I take out the trash and he looks at my grass. My friends, there is already so much unnecessary hate in the world, and I think we need to avoid adding to it. My wife asked me what I was going to do about the yard situation, and honestly, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to add to it by confronting anyone. I've used aliases for these neighbors, so you don't confront them either. Please don't, by the way. You don't like his yard, don't do that. Hopefully this yard too shall pass. Everyone will find their place in the Inwood Yard Hall of Fame, or whatever they have. In conclusion, friends, I pray that we all may strive to be builders of community, not breakers. May our words uplift and not undermine. And may we merit to be people who are trusted, not for just what we say, but for what we wisely choose not to say. And if the grass is greener on the other side, may we realize that they probably just have the same yard guy that we do. Shabbat Shalom.